Kalalau Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahushai Bahashem, Rachak, Wadash, and double honors to the elders of Jemas Ruel, blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel Brakta. Today's lesson, the massive gold strike in Iran. Now, when it comes to many countries, there are comprehensive sanctions that are currently targeting Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Russia, and certain conflict regions of Ukraine, which heavily restrict nearly all trade and financial transactions between U.S. persons and those regions. You see? Now, when it comes to the American media, they are paid millions annually to keep the truth out. That's the reason why many people go to outside media sources, since they no longer trust the American media. Like CNN, for instance. Now, when it comes to those sanctions imposed, the American media will never admit that these sanctions are designed to cripple, weaken, and destroy the well-being of these other countries. Perfect example, look at the ongoing 3-year war of Russia versus Ukraine, along with those failed sanctions. This short paragraph proves that those sanctions are placed to benefit those that impose them, but designed to cripple the other nations. Now, as in the case of Iran, this outside media source of Al Jazeera, as you can see here, has said, guess who the Western sanctions on Iran have crippled? The middle class. Sanctions have destroyed the Iranian middle class, the very driver of stability and moderation. But not only have those sanctions failed in Russia, but they shall also fail in Iran. Iran has also prophecy to fulfill, not just the Russians. The Iranians have to fulfill the prophecy of the Karmanians coming out in great wrath and great power. But now, with that massive gold strike in Iran of 53.1 million tons of sulfide ore discovered at Shadan mine, that major gold find is a safe haven for Iran, because it will not only bolster the country's economy due to those imposed sanctions placed upon them, but it will also boost their military. Remember that Iran's economy had been crippled by sanctions imposed after the United States and Western capitals accused Tehran of seeking to weaponize its nuclear program. The country's economy came under strain since the 12-day war triggered by Israel's unprecedented attack on Iran, during which the United States briefly joined Israel in striking Iranian nuclear facilities. And when it comes to finds such as this gold finding, you know that the military shall also get heavy funding. That's why this article of X.com goes on to say Iran could fight Israel and US 50 years continuously as Iran discovers major gold deposits in Khorasan with approximately 6.5 million tons of gold era worth $17 trillion. Look at that. And not only did X.com report on this, but Facebook has also reported upon this as well. Here we have a post by Darren Mahane that says Iran's gold weapon. Iran claims a 17 trillion gold find could fund a 50-year fight against Israel and the US. A shocking revelation that could reshape Middle East power dynamics. And it's not a coincidence that he said that could reshape Middle East power dynamics, because that's exactly what the scripture of the Karmanians have said. There shall come a great power. So according to this article, that gold find would fund their military to a 50-year fight. But the way these high tensions are progressing, it will be at your doorstep before you even know it. As soon as they implement that CHIP of Revelation 13:16 through 18, that greater war to end all wars shall come quickly. But in the next 50 years, there will be no wars, because these nations will be under true Israel's captivity. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. But yes, when it comes to that massive gold strike in Iran of 53.1 million tons of sulfide ore discovered at the Shadan mine, it will not only boost their economy, but their military as well. They shall come with great power. Now, when it comes to the Iranians of today, aka the Persians, aka the Carmanian wild boars, according to the scriptures, biblical scripture has said that they will come in great power. With that being said, let's begin in the scripture of 2 Esdras 15 and 30. Here we have that scripture of 2 Esdras 15 and 30. Also the Carmanians raging in wrath shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. This scripture of 2 Esdras 15 and 30 has said the Carmanians shall rage in wrath, and with great power shall they come. The Carmanians represents the Iranian wild boars of Iran. The Iranian of today are the Persians, and it is prophesied that they shall come with great power. And if you know something about wild boars, they pose a danger to hunters due to their aggressive nature and strength. That's how these Iranians will come upon the battlefield, and with great power shall they come, with great strength. That's why Iran should not be underestimated, because they have to fulfill this part of prophecy. Now with this gold find of theirs, that will give them a major boost. The Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua has covered all angles, and what the people have forgotten is that he is in charge, for he ruleth in the kingdom of men. That's found upon Daniel 4 and 17. But no longer can these smaller nations be bullied, because they have officially leveled the playing field in the possession of nuclear capability. Many of these smaller countries now possess nuclear capability and other sorts of advanced weaponry. They also have drones, etc. And if Iran was to get attacked or invaded by the West, that will automatically draw out the Russians to war. Also remember that Russia is now providing unprecedented level of military aid and technical support to Iran. So any attack on Iran will definitely draw out the Russians. But who shall draw out the Americans to their demise will be the small hatters. That's why biblical prophecy has said that the least of the flock shall draw them out. We are no longer living in the time of peace but of war. And tensions are extremely high due to these current ongoing wars. And as a result, the nations are angry, right? Because they're also being taken out of their comfort zone. Look at those tensions with the US and Venezuela now. Russia shall come up against the West in war, but also the allies of America shall betray her and shall also war against her. And those arrows of mass destruction will fly. Once they implement that CHIP of Revelation 13 and 16, that third world war cometh quickly. And on that day there shall be no holes barred. Now when it says, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians, that is in reference to modern day America. The modern day Assyrian is the nation of Edom. Let's prove that by going to the scripture of Isaiah 10 and 5, which says the following. Here we have that scripture of Isaiah 10 and 5. O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. The modern day Assyrian is Esau, Edom, and they are the rod of the Lord's righteous anger that will come upon Jake's. Their staff, which means power, will come down heavily upon many jakes. But let me just say that Edom is also modern-day Nineveh. Even Idumea is a Greek word for Edom and also refers to America. America is known by many names: Babylon the Great, Egypt, Sodom, due to the laws that it passes when it comes to the alphabet community, etc. The New Testament scripture of Revelation 12:12 has said, "For the devils come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he has but a short time." And in these last days he will come down in great wrath. But if you know about the ancient Assyrians, on the other hand, they were extremely brutal and vicious. And those ancient Assyrians were Shalmaneser and Tiglath-Pileser. And when it comes to those Assyrians, they knew that brutality was a very effective tool of psychological warfare. And this was done in order for their opponents to know and for them to think twice before they started a war with any of them. Now, in these modern times, the scripture of Psalm 17:13 does say that the nation of Esau, Edom, is the sword of the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. The Lord will utilize and bring forth his righteous anger through the nation of Edom to punish two parts out of the nation of Israel for their wickedness. But as soon as those troops come for the Lord's elect that are his, the Lord shall lift up a standard against them, according to the scripture of Isaiah 59:19. Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 6, "I will send him against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets." Right. This is speaking about these times. "I will send him" is in reference to the modern day Assyrian, which is Esau, Edom in these times. The Lord Yahweh Yahushua will give him a charge, meaning a number, to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. And there's an old saying, history has a habit of repeating itself. So those ancient Assyrians were brutal, but the modern day Assyrians shall also be brutal. The Lord Yahweh Yahushua will give him a charge, meaning a number, to take the spoil and to take the prey and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. That hypocritical nation speaks about the children of Israel that will be treaded down like the mire of the streets. When the troops come in like a flood, it shall be in great wrath and in a heavy state of perpetual hatred. Not only will they tread down Israelite men and women, but they will proceed to tread down the elderly and the children as well. This scripture speaks of these times. Many scriptures in the Old Testament speak of future events that will occur. I'll give you an example, as in the case of Isaiah 66:15 and 16. "The Lord has not yet returned with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind, but he shall. The second death will be by way of fire, by the missiles, and by chariot laser beam fire." That's why it's important for an Israelite to turn to the Lord while he yet may be found. But getting back to the Carmanians, they shall come out in great power. But also, according to the horrible vision of Esdras, he also saw the vision of the dragons of Arabia. 2 Esdras 15 and 28, "Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east. A horrible vision was shown unto Esdras of great calamities, civil disorder, and of the utter breakdown of society itself. He also received a horrible vision of the east, which involves Saudi Arabia, Iran, etc. And when it comes to biblical prophecy, it is going to come to pass. It's going to fulfill itself and come to pass. The word of the Lord does not go back unto him void. 2nd Esdras 15 and 29. Where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots. Those chariots means their vehicles, their tanks, etc. And the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. And this is the horrible vision that the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai gave Esdras. That third world war to come shall be like no other. It shall be a horrible war. Those dragons of Arabia shall not only back one another in talks and in trade, but when the time comes, they shall also back one another militarily. They shall come out with their tanks and other weapons of war. And the two places that shall be taken out is modern day Babylon the Great and the land that the small has now inhabit. The only place that shall rebuild is the land where the small has now inhabit. But when it comes to modern day Babylon the Great, it shall never rebuild. It shall remain destroyed for the people to see on how not to live. Babylon the Great is in reference to America upon the scriptures. But with that being said, Ka'alau Malak Yahweh, Wa Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachak, Wadash, and double honors to the elders of Jemas Ruel, blessings unto those men, and blessings and salutations to the Akim out there in truth, pushing his word in all sincerity and in honesty. With that being said, Shalom Israel, Brakta, Shalom.